Hello, dear friends. What a blessing to be with you today. We continue our study of the book Green Light by the Spirit André Luiz through the mediumship of Francisco Cândido Xavier. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be with you. And today we are talking about chapter 27. We are in the realm of social relationships. I will call that's my interpretation because last week, we talked about how to see and treat others. Today, we're going to talk about manners. Yes, manners. And we will continue with issues of daily importance to you and I. We're still in a world that we need to be reminded of how to be and behave and show up for one another. This book was initially published in the 70s, 1970s, so we are translating and bringing it to you at Kardec Radio in 2022 in collaboration with the Spirit Society of Richmond, of course, and we hope that the newest edition of the book will be available for purchase soon. But in the meantime, we have one another, and we have all of the programming at Kardec Radio to include all of the hosts and the beautiful work that this volunteer enterprise is bringing to you in the world. So let's talk about manners. Yes, we need to talk about manners, especially unpleasant manners, because we still sometimes forget how we make people feel and how they make us feel. So it's important to get a little refresher on manners. It's a very interesting topic. Nowadays, we are very aware, we are on edge, we are maybe angry, we are frightened, and we are traumatized by everything happening around us. Sometimes we forget that there are ways we can go about our day making it more pleasant for everybody, and that's something we need to strive for, right? And we will find that some of these you may have been you may have done it in the past week or so. So it's just an awareness of next time we do better. Next time we don't do those things. So he starts with doors. Quote. Let's start at the beginning. Quote, unpleasant manners. Kick, close, or slamming doors. That's not pleasant, right? Unquote is one sentence. When we are closing or shutting doors while kicking or slamming it, and he talks about also slamming or knocking on the door very forcefully. That's not pleasant, not for the person who is doing it, either for the ones who are inside the door in the homes or offices. It's a very unpleasant experience. It's noisy as well. It says moving furniture, making strong noises with no need for it. So it is dragging, kicking, or sometimes using bad words instead of just making a little bit more effort and picking it up or containing our noises as well. Number 3, I'll name them because it's one. I'll number them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 items. Actually, 9 items with a bow at the end, a comment at the end. He says, criticizing the food that is served at the table. Sometimes people feed us things and we need to be grateful, but we still go to criticism, especially if we are in a place where we are served and rightfully paying for the food. We want it to be a certain way, but we have to understand that sometimes there are things on the background we don't understand. Sitting without manners, like just dropping on the table and dragging that chair, making noise, dropping things around us. These are all, he says, these are the words of André Luiz, unpleasant manners. Those are things we can teach the younger generation. Those are things that because more is caught than taught. We can do it in front of them. We can model those behaviors so that when they grow up to be not as with those manners that may not be as pleasant. Remember, these are the words of Andrea Luiz from the book Green Light, before I get the mental darts of everyone complaining. He says, blowing your nose, examining the residues left in the handkerchief or in the Kleenex tissue, forgetting that it would be more convenient to do it in the nearest restaurant. That's another thing people do that may not bother them because they're taking care of physical needs, but might be a little bit unpleasant for the ones around it, especially when we are eating, right? When we're around the table or having a pleasant conversation, it's very easy to excuse ourselves and go take care of those business somewhere else. Another one, yawning noisily when someone else is speaking. You may have experienced this. You are talking about something or doing a presentation in a meeting, someone is loudly yawning. Clearly, um, everyone pays attention. Yawning is contagious. So are all of these behaviors. Everything that we do, there are mirror neurons in the brain. They can mimic what other people are doing. So if someone yawns, someone else is going to yawn. Even talking about yawning may be causing you to yawn. So this is something that we can perhaps do a little bit more contain and politely, discreetly while around others. Speaking aggressively, that's a big one. That's one that goes viral on social media these days, where we are frustrated, we are late, we are tired, we're stressed, we're fearful, and then something happens and you in all the phones around us and the cameras capture this someone speaking aggressively to others. And remember, you can also be aggressive with your thought. You don't necessarily need to utter the words. Yet in the book Calmness by Emmanuel, he reminds us that our voice is our sound portrait. So what you think, what you feel, how you say things matters. Sometimes not saying something is a big act of charity. And aggressively attacking a cashier, a barista, someone on the street because angrily or speaking to them aggressively does nobody any good, because we are putting that vibrational outlet and the vibrational state out in the world. And then when the people see aggressiveness, they can also become aggressive. Remember that mirror neurons. But when someone sees, it's scientifically proven, when someone sees someone doing an act of kindness, they're more likely to also do an act of kindness. Kindness is contagious as much as the aggressiveness and all of their emotions. Emotions are contagious. Words matter. The way we talk to people, the way we look at them matters. The way our bodies are in the world matters. So we need to be a little more mindful of how we are. Making exaggerated expressions of affection in public. We are able to kindly relate to one another, lovingly relate to one another without exaggerated expressions of affections. It's easier to do when you are a little bit more advanced in age, I'll put it as versus when we are younger, but that's something we can train ourselves to be more discreet and kinder. Another one that happens a lot, because a lot of the times we're not in the present, we are thinking about what we're going to say in the future, do in the future, or we did in the past. So interrupting someone who is speaking. Unpleasant Manners by Andrea Luiz. So let's people talk. Take a deep breath in. Send them thoughts of love. Think about their mentors by their side. Visualize both of you being embraced by your mentors. Let them finish the thought. Reiterate the thought. I thought I heard X, Y, and Z. This is what I'm getting out of your sentence. And of course, if it's something that is not useful, because we do spend time speaking about things that are not important, criticizing others, pointing out what's wrong, complaining, then that's our opportunity to cut it off and say, I'd love to speak, but this topic is not very productive. So let's move on to something better. Instead of unmindfully or just going with the flow. And interrupting is, according to Andrea Luiz, an unpleasant manner. And he puts a little bow at the end and he says, we should not forget that kindness and respect when dealing with others also means charity. So to be charitable with physical things, so if someone needs a resource, food, shelter, water, clothes, we go and give it. But the way we talk, the way we present ourselves in the world, ultimately society and the community we live in are a reflection of the sum of all of us. It's a sum of all of us. So if we are all kind and loving, we have a kind and love environment in society. If we go about doing those things that we just listed, being aggressive, being rude, producing noise when we don't need, interrupting people, then that's the collective. The collective will reflect the sum of all of us. Isn't that wonderful to talk about things that it's still needed in this world in 2022? After all, we are in transition from a world of trials and expiations to a world of regeneration. So it's up to each and every one of us to take the words of the superior spirits and apply them to our daily lives. Thank you so very much, dear friends. That's all we have for these chapters. These are very short, to the point, practical tips from the spirit Andrea Luiz through the mediumship of Francisco Cândido Xavier. And we hope that between now and the next time we are together, we can take care of ourselves, take care of someone else, and God willing, I'll be back with you next week. Stay well, stay safe. I'll see you soon.